There's no end to the raw power of nature when it comes to flooding and storming. Hang on, as here comes the scariest, most chaotic floodgates of all time. Number 10. Tsunami in the Philippines. Surrounded by several trenches and offshore active faults, all of the coastal areas in the Philippines are susceptible to tsunamis. More than 40 tsunami-genic earthquakes have occurred here in the past 450 years. We have this insane moment from the Philippines where a tsunami crashed through a village during a typhoon. I mean, talk about adding insult to injury. As if the typhoon wasn't enough, Mother Nature had to throw in a tsunami for good measure. Number 9. Mudslide on Switzerland. Now, here's something you don't see every day. A huge mudslide triggered by an overflowing flood caused by heavy storms struck the village of Grunay in Switzerland. People heard the noise a few minutes before, but they had no idea of the magnitude of what was coming their way. It was like a crazy mudslide taking over everything in its path. Fortunately, no injuries were reported as the slide provoked only material damage, mostly concerning cars and houses. Swiss media reported that the incident started in a stream just above the village of Grunay. People who did not panic opened the road for the debris mass to follow its route downstream. Some buildings have been evacuated and 2 roads leading to the villages of Mayens de Chamoson and Ovronaz were also closed. Number 8. Tsunami in Japan. Japan is one of the most earthquake-prone countries in the world because it sits on top of 4 converging tectonic plates that constantly grind together. Some 1,500 earthquakes strike the country every year, although the majority are too mild to be felt. The 9.1 earthquake in Japan caused a giant tsunami back in 2011. The residents of Sendai, a city in Japan, only had 8 minutes of warning before a tsunami hit. Can you imagine that? 8 minutes. And there's this video that captured the exact moment the tsunami came crashing across Sendai Airport. It's insane. In just a matter of minutes, the whole area looked like it was in the middle of the ocean. Number 7. Mine near Sand Beach. Eastern Malaysia's Pantai Remis is a charming seaside resort, well known for its lovely sandy beaches. An enormous mining firm came in and destroyed so much of the land that one of those beaches was almost lost. Tin caught their interest more than sunbathing. Mother Nature was not going to accept that. On October 21, 1993, the tin mine's employees left. The retaining walls were severely strained as a result of their excessive mining near the water. The owner of the mine called a local reporter to alert them about a potential disaster. Reaching for his camera, he made a mad dash for the scene. He had the good fortune to record what some consider to be the greatest landslip footage ever. In Malaysia, tin mining has long been a significant business. As of 1979, the nation was contributing 31% of the world's tin supply with an annual production of 63,000 tons. Naturally, tin doesn't simply grow underground. Production had decreased by the 1980s as new Brazilian markets opened up. This kind of collapse in mine didn't help either. The remnants of the Pantai Remis tin mine are still visible today on Google Earth. It's right next door to the location of the current quarry. Number 6. Indonesia Flood. In Indonesia, the province of Riau is home to over 6.6 million people. Situated on Sumatra Island's eastern shore, it is well known for drawing river surfers from throughout the globe. This is due to a unique occurrence that occurs in Riau called Bono waves, which are essentially tidal waves that originate in the South China Sea. The Kampar flows east toward its wide mouth in the South China Sea. However, when the tide comes in, massive amounts of water flow west up the river. As the river narrows, the waves create tidal bores. They also put the riverbanks under constant flood watch. Take note of how the beginning shows the entire beach and how rapidly that changes.
Apaan? Wow, subhanallah. Allahu Akbar. Ada. Tuh. Nah, itu Honda Sapo deh, kalian sabut tadi.
Think about what the area looked like before compared to what it looks like now. That's the power of tidal waves on the Kampar River. Bana waves can travel upriver at 25 meters per hour when the conditions are right. They can grow 20 feet tall and last for over an hour. That means you can catch one near the ocean and ride it for several miles if you can hold your balance that long. But be warned, the Kampar River has its dangers. The water is muddy, making it harder to surf. It's also home to plenty of saltwater crocodiles. Number 5. Floods in Pakistan. A right bank tributary of the Indus River, which flows over 2,000 meters from the Tibetan Plateau to the Arabian Sea, is the Dubar Khyber. Once at a time, the Dubar Khyber passes through Pakistan's district of Kohan, which translates to land of mountains. Within 48 hours, a normally pretty location in Pakistan became a nightmare. The river overflowed its banks due to torrential rains. To record the entire event, a Pakistani government statistical assistant stood on a cliff. Here are two images of the river, one taken on a normal July day and the other taken a day later. Sanwar, our statistical assistant, was devastated to see this flood destroying his native country. Some downstream weren't as fortunate as he was to be safe on the ledge. Numerous people suffered the loss of their houses and jobs. The river burst its banks, allowing water to surge out of control, resulting in the flood. The situation was referred to by the UN as a monsoon on steroids, since portions of Pakistan experienced 500 to 750% more water than normal. Floods destroyed millions of crops, killed almost 800,000 animals, and had an impact on over 33 million people. A third of the nation was underwater at one time. Number 4. China flooding. Sanming is a city in Fujian Province, China, at the prefecture level. With a population of over 2.5 million, it is renowned for its beautiful landscape and majestic mountains. Sanming and the entire province of Fujian were placed under a yellow rain alert on June 10th. That indicated the approach of a strong storm and the impending flooding. It had already rained a lot during the previous few days. Parts of Fujian experienced up to 13 inches of rain between June 6th and June 9th. By the 10th, water, mud, stone, and debris coated every roadway in Sanming. Most stood by helplessly as their automobiles whirred away by the river. Some attempted to save their cars, but the swift current was too strong to overcome.
那个车亮了，灯是不是车上有人呀？修理有人。哎呀呵。 哎呦我的个天呀！
The flooding affected around 75,000 people across the province, and over 21,000 had to evacuate. Ultimately, the storms caused nearly $38 million worth of damage. As far as we can tell, nobody paid the ultimate price. Number 3. Pipe burst in Thailand. About 82,000 people live in the Sunoan district of Nakhon Ratchasima City, Thailand province. It is located roughly 150 meters northeast of Bangkok and gets its name from the Sun and the Noan, two lofty hills that provide a panoramic view of a large pond. This pond is said to have never flooded, despite Thailand being one of the wettest countries on Earth. There must be a place for all that rainwater. It seems to drain into the pipes beneath this noodles bar. It exploded outside their door, meaning they were going to have a rough day at work. Workers were getting ready to open when the pipe suddenly burst. The instant the ground pulses upward and a dog starts to run is visible. How even do you respond to this situation? A mop bucket would never have been large enough to hold the mess. The outermost geyser reportedly reached a height of more than 16 feet. Our workmen, meanwhile, were left knee-deep in muddy water. All they could do was wait for it all to drain away. The hard work of cleaning everything up started now. The location of the pipe's concrete rupture is visible outside. It had enough force to launch enormous blocks of rock several feet away from the explosion. Thankfully, nobody was standing in the way. It's unclear what caused the pipe to burst or if the local government compensated the noodle bar for damage and lost business, but we can't imagine they were able to sell food anytime soon. There's no telling what was running through those pipes other than water. Number 2. Assam Flood. In terms of landmass, Assam is the second largest state in northeastern India. With more over 31 million people distributed among 35 districts, it is also the largest in terms of population. The Dima Hasao district, which is distinguished by its numerous hills and the communities tucked into them, is the least inhabited of those districts. Unfortunately, everything gets flooded easily because of those slopes. The region around the town of Haflong has been destroyed by landslides and intense rains that began in the middle of 2022. The commuter train stranded in the center of the railway tracks appeared to be the focus of much of the damage. Regretfully, this was just the start. The weather department warned people that extremely heavy rains would continue for several days. All of Assam remained on red alert. According to reports, floods and landslides snapped the rail and road links beyond the station. These trains were trapped with about 1,400 passengers split between them. Thankfully, they all got off and sought higher ground before the train flipped. Nearly all of Assam was impacted by the floods in some way. The train station fiasco was only one minor incident in a statewide catastrophe. Number 1. Flood in China. The largest city in Gansu province is Lanzhou, China. It has long been an important trading hub due to its location on the Yellow River. More than 4.3 million people live in Gansu's capital, which is home to the heavy manufacturing sector. On July 7, 2018, Gansu province's southeast saw torrential rains. They continued until later in the month when most of the region was